dies from the Chapter 1 collection, as well as some of the brand new pattern paper, which I've got here, and also some of the decorative foils as well. So like I said, they're all in Chapter 1, and I'm going to make a card that would be perfect for giving to anyone right now, just to cheer them up and put a smile on their face. It'll also be brilliant for Mother's Day maybe. So yeah, I'm going to move the camera down so you've got a nice overhead view of what I'm doing, and yeah, and then we'll get started. Okay, so I'll just move the camera down. So. There we are, just checking it's in position, and we can get started. Okay, so I've just got a white card base that I've folded in half, and I'm going to create a background to begin with. So I'm going to do that using some watercolour paints, and obviously I've got a wet brush here and some water, and I'm going to create a sort of watercolour pink tone background, so nothing harsh. And I'm just going to dip that in the water and take some of the pink shade and just dab that in the centre. Okay, obviously you can change up the colour depending on what your colour scheme is. Obviously mine's going to be pinks, so that's what I'm going for, but whatever you want. And then just take a piece of tissue and just dab off any excess. Okay, you can obviously also use any size card you want. I just cut mine down to a little bit of a smaller size, but if you wanted something a bit bigger, then that's fine. There we go, and then I'm going to add some more water just to soften those edges. So I don't want anything too bold or bright, just really soft, like pink fluffy clouds. Okay, and then I would leave that to dry. If you want to heat it up and speed the process up a little bit, you can just use one of our heat guns. That's absolutely fine, but because you've used a tissue and you've dabbed off the excess, that normally dries it pretty quickly, to be fair. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit of glue, which is going to allow me to adhere some of the foil sheets. Okay, so with this I'm using the Express glue, and it is fantastic because it has a fine tip nozzle, so I can be really controlled with where I'm putting it. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm just going to do like a squiggle, just really lightly. And you could be quite bold and put little dots on. So I've just done a really, really smooth squiggle, and that's just right over where I put the watercolours. Okay, now you need to let that dry for a good 5 minutes, I would think, until it's like tacky, and then you can take your foil sheet. This is the silver foil sheet. I'm sorry if there's a big reflection there, but this is the silver foil sheet. And then what you would do is, when this is like 80% dry pretty much, and it's just slightly tacky, it's not wet, because at the moment it's a little bit too wet for me to apply this, but once it's just tacky, I could then pop this on top, and then you just smooth it over with your fingers and then peel it back. Okay, so you can heat it up with your heat gun, which I might try and do just to speed up the process. Just move that to one side. I'm just trying to speed up the heat of that glue until I don't really get any residue on my fingers. Okay. I think that's about right. And then you can take your foil sheet, so obviously mine is silver, and then you get this kind of like matte coppery shade on the back, so that's what goes down, so it's silver facing upwards, and then you press over the top of your glue line. Make sure to press pretty firmly, and you should be able to see that line sort of show up already, and then you can peel it back and you can see that it's transferred. If you're not happy with some of the parts that maybe they haven't transferred as well, that's fine. And don't worry if it's gone, if it's transferred, like here I've got some bits that maybe are outside of that line, that's fine. It just adds to that sort of creative background effect. So it doesn't matter if it looks a little bit messy. That's kind of what we're going for, because it is only a background at the end of the day. Okay, so I've got one I've done here that is just a little bit more full. I even speckled some of the watercolour background, so if you wanted to do that, all you would need to do is take your paintbrush and pop it in the colour and then just run it along a piece of scrap paper. I'll just show you on here actually. And then you can create little speckles. So you could also do that if you wanted. So there are loads of different options for you to create a fun background, okay? But once you've got that, I can now start to work on what's going to go on top. So I'm going to take this to one side, and the die I am using is the envelope with flowers die, okay? And this is the main section of the die, and then you do also get all these lovely floral and foliage elements as well. But I'm going to show you how to put together this envelope, because it creates like a 3D envelope almost, okay? So I'm going to bring in my machine, and I've just got some cream coloured cardstock. I'm going to pop that on there and run that through. And then pop this to one side. And you should have something that looks like that. Okay, so that is the envelope once it's cut out, and we're going to start to assemble it. So it has 3 score lines, so meaning that one stays open. So if I fold along these score lines, you'll instantly see your little envelope come together, okay? And this is where we can glue those edges together. So again, bringing in my express glue, I just want a really fine amount of glue along the very edge of these 2 side pieces. Okay. And then I can press it down because I want that bottom piece to be at the top, okay? And just hold it for a few seconds. It is great with this express glue, it dries super quick, so really handy. Oh, there we go. Now you have your 3D envelope. Okay, so once we've got that envelope finished, I now want to add something interesting to the background. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to use some of the pattern paper. Now, this is brand new to chapter 1. We haven't done anything really like this before. And it's a fantastic pack of paper. You get 80 sheets, so you get tons of these pattern papers, and they're all double sided patterns, so they're all stunning patterns, really beautiful colours, and they work perfectly with our cardstock colours as well. So you can have loads to pick from there, and they'll work perfectly with all of our colours that we already have. Okay, so I've got a piece just here. So this is obviously like a pink leaf design, but on the back it has some polka dots, so I could use that as well if I really wanted to, but I'm going to use the leaf pattern. And I've taken a corner piece because what I'm going to do is I'm going to create like a liner effect on this envelope, and I'm going to do that by measuring up the corner piece with the top of the envelope, and then just pop 2 little lines just inside of the envelope so it can slot easily in. And then I'm just gonna pop a line down here because I know I want to cut it off, obviously, so it can slot inside. Okay, so going to grab my scissors and just snip along these lines. Like so. Okay, so fingers crossed if I've measured that correctly, it should, yeah, there we go, slot perfectly inside. Okay, so look how cute that is, it's just adorable. I am going to just take a eraser or a rubber when I find one. And just rub out any lines that I created because I don't want to see those. Okay, and then just pop a little bit of glue again on the back, and I might even actually just put it on the base here so that when I go to slot this in, it's not going to smudge on any parts that I don't want it. It's only going to be on the parts that I do. Okay, and then just readjust it so it aligns nicely with that point. She says I can't get it to align. I am doing this upside down so you can see it, so I'm going to say that's my excuse for not being able to line this up. There we go. Okay, if you do feel like some of these parts need a little bit more glue on, just lift it up and pop a little bit on. Okay, so there we've got a really, really cute envelope, 3D envelope with some pattern liner in. Okay, now we can bring back in our card front and we can start to build this up. So that envelope, you can see it actually takes up quite a lot of my background space, which is fine because that's what I kind of wanted. At the end of the day, it is just a background, so don't worry too much about that. But I can now start to build up this. So I'm going to take a little bit of foam tape. I'm going to pop that on the back here. I'm just going to put one piece and just position that where I want it, and I'm going to leave a little bit of space down this side because this is where I'm going to put all of my my like foliage elements. Okay, so I did show you the die at the beginning, and it does obviously come with all that foliage, and we're going to utilize that. So I have been a busy bee and cut out all of these pieces already. Need that one. Cut out all these pieces already. So I've got several leaf elements from green tea and agave coloured cardstock, and then I've got several of the flowers from ballet slipper and cherry blossom cardstock to go with the pinks there. You can take a paper sculpting kit and give these flowers a little sculpt. So just with the foam mat and with the ball element of the sculpting kit, just give them a little sculpt like that. just by running around in circles, and it just gives them a little bit of a 3D element. So I'm just going to do a few of these. I'm obviously not going to use all of these. I've cut out way more than I needed to. But just if I've got a few to go off, then I can see what works and what looks best. Okay, so I've got some bits there. I'll take all these extras out the way. And I could do it with the leaf elements as well if I wanted to. So not necessarily in the same manner, but just by sort of running up the centre and on the leaves, you can give them a little bit of 3D dimension. And then you've even got these little leaves here as well. Okay, so it's up to you how you sculpt these, or how much, how little. They could be completely flat, okay? But I've just got a few there that I'm just going to pop to one side, and then I can start to build up my foliage. So again, bringing in my trusty express glue, I'm going to start to build these up. So I'm going to pop just little bits of glue along here. And don't worry if you can see a little bit of glue where I've put some of the foliage. I'm putting the foliage down first, so then I can build the flowers on top and cover up any mess that I've made that I don't like the look of. Okay, oh, come on. Got some of these smaller elements as well. And you can just have a lot of fun layering these up and seeing what looks best, what you prefer, anything like that. If you don't have a paper sculpting kit as well and you want a little bit of shape, you can just manipulate these paper bits in your fingers. So don't worry too much. And now I can start to build up my flowers, because I can always add in and slot in little extra bits as well. But I'm going to just start to build up these flower bits just to see how it's going to look, I think, because I don't want loads of these flowers on. I just want a few. Okay. Again, you can pop them on the envelope or on the back of the card and create dimension that way. That's perfectly fine. And you could even layer these up, so you could put like one on top of the other if you wanted to. I think I'm just going to leave mine sort of as they are, but that's completely up to you. I might even move that one actually and put that one here. So don't worry if you're not happy with something, just move it around. Sorry if my fingers are in the way, guys. I'm being a bit fiddly with where I want to place these things, but it's all trial and error. Okay, so you can see it's starting to come together. I'm going to pop some more leaves in, I think, where I feel like there's a few gaps. So that's what's great about this die set, is you do get loads of different little elements that you can build up. Like these little leaves are really handy for this kind of stuff. And if I haven't said already, which I think I did, this is the envelope with flowers die in chapter 1 by Jen Ogborn. Okay, we're starting to be happy with that. Okay, so that's coming together. And then I think we need some centers on these flowers. Now, you could use sequins as centres, which would work really nicely. I tend to use these a lot as flower centres, particularly the sort of round matte ones. They're great. You could also use the die set, because there are some circles and some centres in the die set. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use some glitter, I think, just because I want to be a little bit extra. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lid off my glitter. So this is the Cherry Blossom glitter. And I've actually used some of the Cherry Blossom cardstock, so that's fantastic. It all matches. And I'm just going to pop little circles in the centre with my express glue. Now that's, again, what's really good about this express glue, and what I showcased when I did that background with the silver foil, is that you can be really precise at where you're putting it, and it's just super, super handy to have something so thin at the top. Okay, so I've got those circles there. Then I'm going to bring in my funnel tray and just sprinkle the glitter onto my card. Okay, you don't want a lot, just a little bit on each flower. And I'm going to tap off the excess. You could wait just a few seconds for that to set a little bit, but it's probably not going to go anywhere. So just give it a bit of a tap. And you can even just pop some air on there to get any excess off. And we've got these centres. And obviously I've used that funnel tray so I can save any excess glitter, which is just super handy. Okay. There we go. And last but not least, I think it needs a sentiment. So I always feel like cards aren't complete without a really cute sentiment. So I'm going to add one on there. So from chapter 1, you could use a few different things. You could use the script sentiments set, which actually is what it says. It comes with several different sentiments that you could use, but I want something quite small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the jar with flowers die by Lisa Jones, also in chapter 1, and there's a little sentiment in here that will work perfectly. So here it is. It just says love and thanks, and I'm going to use that. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I've just got some Arctic Sky cardstock and some adhesive sheet, and I'm going to stick a little strip of adhesive sheet on the front and the back, and I'll explain why. So I'm just going to measure that up, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces. Okay, so I've got 2 pieces of the adhesive sheet. I just need 1 piece of cardstock. And I'm going to stick this adhesive sheet to the front and to the back. Okay, so 1 on the front, that can go in the bin, and 1 on the back. So you literally just peel off the layer with the writing on. And pop it on your card. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my machine and cut this out of that. So doesn't matter which side, so I'm just going to pop it down and put my sentiment on that piece of card and just run it through. I'm just going to run it back as well, just to make sure it's cut, because there are a few more layers on there. And it should cut out. Ooh. Should cut out really nicely. It is in kind of like 3 sections almost. Okie dokie. There we go. Okay. So we've got the adhesive sheet on the front and the back. So the back is so we can stick it down without using any glue, because it's quite a fine, detailed die cut, so I won't need any glue. And the front, we're going to add some of the foil sheet, okay, to the front. And this is just a different way to use a foil sheet. Before I do that, I've just cut a little banner shape out down here. I'm just going to trim that a little bit, I think. There we go. I should have stuck this down first really, but oh well. There we go. So I want that just over the top of the envelope, and that's where my sentiment is going to go. Okay, so I've just hand cut that just so it's ever so slightly bigger than my sentiment. So if I pop that there, you can kind of see. Okay, so I've just done it in a grey, I think it's the Earl Grey or the cobblestone card. And now I can add the foil sheet to the front of these. So all you need to do is peel off the top layer. Can be a little bit fiddly, but just take your time. It does give a really nice effect. And do all of the pieces. Oh, this one doesn't want to come off my hand. There we go. Okay, so they're sticky on the top now, which means that we can apply the foil sheet. So obviously before we used glue to apply the foil sheet, so this time we're using adhesive sheet. So what I'm going to do is, again, the like copper matte side down and the silver side upwards, because that's what we want to see. I'm just going to press over the sentiments. Just really firmly press. You should be able to see it coming through. And there we go. And they just look so cool, like sort of rustic silver. It just looks really cool. Okay, so we can now stick these on, and because I put adhesive sheet on the back as well, just really easy. If you find that some of the bits haven't popped out by themselves, because they are pretty small, just give them a poke with your die pick or something like that. And I'm just going to stick these on the front. And that's why I wanted to use the sentiment from this set, because I wanted it to be quite small. I didn't want it to take up too much of the front of the card, but just enough, you know. Okay, just pop out some of these extra little bits. Make sure it all fits. Again, I'm working upside down when you guys see this, so. And that's a good thing about using the adhesive sheets as well. You can kind of move it easily. Right, there we go. You could even just use love rather than the thanks, particularly if it's a Mother's Day card. But love and thanks just works really nicely. I realised I hadn't stuck that down as well, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue on the back. It could go down here as well if I wanted it to, but I kind of like it up here on the envelope. And there we go, guys. A finished card. There's loads of fun techniques in there using some of the new stuff from chapter 1. So we've got the dies, the pattern paper, and that gorgeous metallic foil decorative sheets. So really lovely, like I said, perfect for just gifting to someone to perk up their day, or perfect for Mother's Day. And there we go. I'm just going to bring the camera up to say goodbye, and we're done. Okay. There we go. I think that's okay. Sorry guys, it's always a really unflattering way to bring up the camera, but I don't have any other way of doing it really. So there you have it. I hope you really enjoyed that today, guys. I hope you love seeing some different techniques using some of the new products. That lovely envelope with flowers die, it's a really lovely one. I really love it. It's a great opportunity to put something a little bit more 3D on the front of a card and make it look really special and gift it to someone special at the time when everybody needs a little bit of a boost. Okay, so make sure to check out the Sizzix website if you did like any of the products that I mentioned today. They're all over there in their own little section in chapter 1 or brand new products, and you can find them super easy. And yeah, so that's everything from me today, guys. I hope you stay safe, keep crafting, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, bye.